Hi, I'm resident of Culver for YouTube. Joel Sands. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. That's my buddy Daniel Culver. We're here to review the movie InnerSpace.
And Lincoln's butt.
Yeah. Starring Dennis Quaid is here. Martin Short is here. Meg Ryan is here. Kevin McCarthy is here.
Yeah.
Very, very.
Now, don't forget Dick. Don't leave out Dick. Dick Miller.
Yeah. And Henry Gibson, who is your...
God, he's so good.
6 degrees of separation between this and Evil Roy Slade. It's
He
only
is so
1 degree of
good.
separation. But, yeah, I always liked him. I always liked the character, because he could play goofuses and he could play silly villains and do all the things that, he was known.
Is that the doctor that gets killed off?
No, Henry Gibson is the manager of
the
grocery store.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jack, he's completely spaced out. Smell this. Smell it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Jack, you have a tremendous future in retail food services.
And he has this. Martin Short's character has this nightmare that comes true. Which is,
yeah. And there's another connection to a recent movie we did. It's written by the author of The Phantom.
Oh,
Jeffrey Bowen.
Oh wow,
that's right.
Nice.
That's an interesting departure. I mean,
yeah,
sort of. Yeah, I mean that Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and this, and basically they're all three kind of comedies, adventure comedies.
Yeah, the adventure part definitely I can see. He's kind of taken a different spin on this in terms of comedy. It's like it's more it's more full bloom. This movie.
Well, I wonder how much of that entered the picture once Martin Short was cast.
Yeah,
there you go.
Because it's like Steven Spielberg is determined. It's like, you know what? Three Amigos didn't do it, but this will. Marty, I'm going to make you a star, God damn it. I'm going to make you a star.
And that was where my first question is with Martin Short. How underrated of an actor is he, you guys think?
Vastly, because and his longevity proves it out. He keeps coming back. As an A-lister, and now he's with Steve Martin again. He's paired with Steve Martin again. So, and highly successful in Only Murders in the Building. So, he is vastly underrated. I concur.
I would have, all of most of the comedians of his generation all got a really meaty drama at some point. Mm-hmm. I mean, even, John Candy with Only the Lonely.
Yeah.
And true. Short is the one guy who never really got the chance, I think, to show his dramatic chops. Mm. And that makes me a little sad, but I love what he's done.
Yeah. I mean,
he's probably brilliant at
it. Three Amigos may not have made Martin Short a star, but as somebody who watched that as a kid, I enjoyed the hell out of that.
Like, Short was well known by the time he did Amigos. I mean, he wasn't going to make or break his career, fortunately, but yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at the time I had watched it, keep in mind that Disney themselves is literally getting ready to remake the Three Musketeers, the Disney company. So when I watched the Three Amigos, I was entertained as hell with Martin Short and them, and Chevy Chase.
You were primed to enjoy movies with 3 in the title.
Yes, I was.
That's true.
I have to tell you, when I first saw the Three Amigos when it was new, I'll die on this hill. Yeah, I think if they had cast somebody besides Chevy Chase, it would have been a more successful movie.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. He just has this air. He's okay in certain solo vehicles like Fletch,
but chemically it wasn't. He was interrupted in this one.
He's not meant for buddy comedies,
right?
Like I would say, Fletch and Caddyshack are the 2 exceptions to that.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not anybody's buddy in either of those movies either.
Right.
He's sort of his own agent.
Yeah.
In the movies. So
And he only has one real ensemble-y scene in Caddyshack, and that's with Bill Murray,
right,
who he hated.
right. They hated each other.
I ended up reviewing Memoirs of an Invisible Man by myself because
I know.
And it was Chevy Chase is the reason that movie's bad. I'm going to tell you.
That's not good.
Certain things he worked well in, and certain people he worked well with, but he could very easily become the oil in the oil and water mix.
And it's a movie directed by the horror master himself, John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You think John Carpenter will ever make a Western movie?
He did.
Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't know he did. Oh,
Well,
he did.
Vampires.
He made two in this. Well,
Ghosts of Mars.
shout out to our buddy Butch Rosenbaum. He made two. The first Assault on Precinct 13, the original, because that's a retelling of Rio Bravo.
Yeah.
That's right.
And obviously John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yep.
And I would say Ghosts of Mars has a real Western feel to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah, I didn't know he actually did. That's pretty interesting, because I know that's his favorite genre,
Yeah. Now, if you're talking more cowboyish if you want to see cowboy Western with him, I would say John Carpenter's Vampires, because very much James Woods is playing a modern day cowboy in that movie in every way.
Yeah.
With Assault on Precinct 13, go watch Rio Bravo. I'll find it and send it to you. And then go watch Assault on Precinct 13, the original, and you'll see why it's a retelling of that movie. Look, Howard Hawks was John Carpenter's favorite director. I mean, so.
Oh, yeah, I could see that, too.
But with this movie, well, first of all, when did you guys first see InnerSpace, Patrick?
I saw it opening weekend, 1987, June of 1987. Yeah, I had been looking forward to it for a long time. Had a great trailer, had wonderful production design. It was had two stars I really liked a lot, Martin Short and Dennis Quaid, both of whom really had yet, I think, to have parts this big, notable parts this big. You know, they had been in ensemble films, but considering they're never on screen together, really, you know, except in the wedding scene at the end,
Right.
they have fantastic chemistry. I mean, I don't think Dennis Quaid hung around on the set to feed Martin Short his lines, but it sure feels like it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
like
a real triumph.
It's like they clicked at a table read or something. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's sort of, in a weird way, or go ahead, Daniel. Good. What's your thoughts on this? And then I'll talk.
Oh, I think this movie's pretty good. But yeah, the first time I saw this was actually today. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Like, it was an interesting concept.
Sometimes people just click. I'll give a great example. The series Knight Rider with David Hasselhoff and
Yes.
Off.
right, with Kit, the guy who did voiced Kit.
William
Daniels, yeah.
President of Screen Actors Guild for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, we did the 1776 movie, I believe, on here on this channel. But with this movie, they click really, really well. And sometimes you get that with an actor whose voice you're only hearing. Though we do, the audience, we see his character. We see, Dennis Quaid's character, who, by the way, who did audition and almost landed the role of Bob in John Carpenter's Halloween, but didn't. There's actually photos of him and Jamie Lee Curtis together talking. In this movie, he's always been him and his brother have always been underrated actors and really, really great actors.
I think the monumental work is his brother's political commentary of the past few years.
Star Whackers. Star Whackers. Yeah.
Wow. If you don't know about that, look it up, Jewel. Look it up.
I don't know about that.
Andy
There's-
Quaid, the
He
retirement.
got a hold of
years.
some bad rock back in the 90s, I think.
Something.
His paranoia level is like at universal levels. I mean, that big.
Tell me when I can start rhapsodizing about this movie.
Go ahead. You can.
I profoundly love this movie. I think it is a beautiful film. I think it's an underrated film. I think it's sort of like Star Wars. It does what it does, which is it has some profoundly human messages in it that are necessary, but it wraps them in such a lighthearted, watchable shell that you don't really realize what a profound movie this is. And it's one of the great movies about the power of the ordinary person to overcome what they've defined themselves as when they have the right friend.
Yeah, there's trust and personal courage are two huge themes in this movie. The development of personal courage.
Yeah. I love that moment when he says, "Don't worry, Jack will give me the strength of 10 men."
Yeah,
And he decks the guy only to find out that Jack's nowhere
Jack's
near
not
him.
inside of him at that point. That's right.
Which is a great, it is a beautiful statement of heroic irony that then has a very human punchline.
Right.
And the punchline relieves the movie of being didactic.
Yeah.
And that's its subtle charm. I think, the sort of one of the statements that's reviled by the English, but I think has some merit, is if you want to send a message, get Western Union. But which is sometimes used just to create shallow, fatuous crap.
Sure.
However, I think, if you want to really bury a message deep, people learn through stories. They learn through examples. They don't learn through being told what to do. And this movie is a masterpiece of show don't tell.
Yeah.
I always, very few movies, and this was typical of movies in the 80s. I really, people our age really tend to miss the simplicity of 1980s summer fair movies. And, where films like this, unfranchised, one-shot films like this were the norm.
Yes.
And, and this was a movie I never took for granted. I mean, I really responded to when I saw it. And I think I responded to it more deeply than I knew, just because of how it sat with me. And that I wasn't consciously aware of the influence of it. But then when I go back and deconstruct certain moments and choices in my life, it's really there. And, and even the title, I think, has some merit of investigation, because the inner space, it's really inside Jack's heart.
Yeah.
That this works, and that Jack manages to be a lowly figure, but not slovenly or disrespectable or anything like that.
Right.
And he is a guy trying to improve his life. He turns over 2 years of life savings to go on this cruise to seek out as much adventure as life will sort of give him in a safe package. But it's not a safe package that he needs. And and it's also a supreme tribute to the notion of trust.
Yeah.
That he does just innately trust Tuck Pendleton. And Tuck trusts him.
Yeah.
He has to encourage him a lot.
Tuck is not this intrepid guy. He's a capable guy, but he's deeply flawed.
He's very flawed.
Deeply flawed. But he also, like you say, the inner space of his heart is essentially true. And is trustworthy, even through all of that. So
I think the reason Dennis Quaid's character is able to trust him is because they talk about this earlier. He's such a maverick in every way that he'll take the chance to trust somebody, and it's a blind chance almost. And that's what
that
he
is
does.
a form of maverick behavior we don't think about in the movie.
Yeah, it's really well done by Dennis Quaid because he's selling a dialogue that somebody else said early in the movie. And you do see some of that before he gets shrunk down, but you really see it when he has to, blindly trust Martin Short's character.
Yeah.
And
he has to convince him to like run when he's supposed to
Yeah.
run and punch when he's supposed to punch. And Martin Short has to practically instantly make a decision. I'm not going to be shy retiring like I normally am. I'm gonna do this. And because there's a trust between the two of them, they can catalyze each other. When Jack kisses Tuck's girlfriend, it's not a betrayal. As a matter of fact, they end up exchanging him.
Yes.
It's not a betrayal at all. It's an attempt at her to get closer to Tuck, and yes, him to get closer to her, and sure, but they literally exchange him at that point, and that's interesting to me too. That's something that sort of develops in front of your eyes. You don't quite know what's going to happen with that. So
it's funny because the last time I saw this movie, I forgot what the setting was, but I was a little embarrassed by it. It felt excruciatingly dated. And now it's a few years later, and now we're far enough from the 80s that dated is okay. Now it really feels like a relic of another era in a good way.
Right, because it's good writing, for one thing. It's still
good. It is good writing. It's better writing than we have today. I mean, I hate to say it because all that will cure that is the right writer and the right director willing to trust them.
Right.
And there is so much very, very, very trademark Joe Dante fun all over this. All the stuff with Fiona Lewis and Kevin McCarthy getting shrunk down to like 2 feet high and so on, which is just silly. But I think that silliness is necessary to let the movie do a much more profound job. I'm repeating myself, but I love that about it. I mean, I love the details and the dialogue as much as I love it. And Robert Picardo, oh my God.
When I first saw him, I went, that's, you literally go, that's.
He's great. And Dante, this is a movie where Dante very easily could have just let the actors run roughshod over him, and he doesn't. The movie, as much as he lets the actors riff and have a lot of fun, I feel like he got people together and just let them have fun. And I wonder how much of the movie is improvised, because I think there probably are some elements of improvisation, just some of William Shallert's asides, some of Henry Gibson's stuff, some of I love the weird nonsensical story that Kevin McCarthy's talking about being on the gold fields of Alaska. One of my favorite lines in the movie. They're just throwaways, but it's Jack, sitting here freezing as we are, I'm thinking of it.
It's like, why are you in the freezer with him? It's like, let's get to know each other. It's like, that's probably
I'm going to stay here with my friend Jack.
The freezer, Kevin, with him. And she goes, why? Well, we'll figure this out, Kevin. Okay, you're going to go in the freezer with him. Okay, you guys can have a conversation.
In the Middle Ages, they used to flame people with flaming pokers. I'm not really sure what modern thinking is, or what the contemporary approach is. Shallert, and I mean, Dante is famous for filling his movies with "Hey, it's that guy." Rarely has "Hey, it's that guy" had as much fun. The only thing I regret in this movie is that Dick Miller doesn't have more to do.
Right.
Although he does have nice asides in the middle of the conversation, in the middle of their argument.
Yes.
But that could just all be Jeffrey Boehm also. Another line that stands out. They fly by so quickly with the "eat me, drink me," and Jack says, "Oh, I think that's from The Exorcist."
Yeah.
And it's not explained to the audience. You know, you have to. It's a movie. It is a line not meant for the dumbest guy in the house.
Yes.
But you know, this was a good 1987 was a very good summer for movies. You know, I think of some of the smaller movies that came out. This, in its own way, compared to Living Daylights or RoboCop or something like that, was one of the smaller movies.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm reminded of a movie that played at the same time as this, which was Stakeout, with
Oh,
Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss,
yeah.
which is a wonderful buddy comedy.
Yep. Yep, it is, and it was so wonderful. They tried to recapture it in the second one, and it didn't.
Never saw it.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
never saw it.
no.
It even had a lame, tired title. Another Stakeout.
Oh my
It's
god.
like, well, what producer green lit this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I would have made a vampire buddy comedy with the two of them called Stake In.
It's right.
yeah,
Just
there you go. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like, you know, I wonder how Dragon Ball Evolution got made, but you know.
You guys really have a thing about that movie. You're gonna end up making us watch it.
It's
Might
bad.
as well get it over with.
I've seen it. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's
like-
never stopped us before.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of dragon movies, didn't Dennis Quaid make one and with
To Wong Fu.
no and literally a dragon movie with
Yeah, Dragonheart.
yeah, Dragonheart with Sean Connery as the voice of the dragon.
Yeah.
That was kind of surreal, but it was fun. It was a fun little movie. But it was a kind of a surreal pairing.
Actually, Dennis Quaid had one big starring outing prior to this, and that was Enemy Mine.
Oh, and that is
It's a great movie.
love that movie. That's
I
fantastic.
think that you know, Star Trek's, you know, big vaunted episode Darmok,
Uh-huh.
to me just always felt like a ripoff of Enemy Mine.
Right. Right.
different
Enemy Mine is
languages.
a great exploration of racial ethnic prejudice, survival cooperation, empathy building. There's all sorts of wonderful stuff that goes on.
And Lou Gossett
It's
is
fantastic.
astounding in this. If you think he was good in Officer and a Gentleman, oh hell no.
Way better.
This is his great performance.
Yeah, I agree because it is an empathetic, it's a vulnerability that develops between the two of them. Because
And it's
I mean,
superb
Quaid
mask
is
work.
literally physically vulnerable at the beginning
Yeah.
of it, and then when they develop sort of this relationship that turns into a friendship, the vulnerability spreads. And it's a really interesting thing to see as an actor, that relationship build.
It's been way too long since I've seen that movie.
It's a great movie.
It
Oh, yeah.
is. Wolfgang Peterson. He made that right after Dust Boat.
Oh,
It's yeah.
Another movie about warfare
Yep.
and the screwed up nature of the polarization in warfare.
Oh,
Jewel,
yeah.
have you ever seen Enemy Mine?
Yes, I have, a long time ago.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, he can live, Alan. He can live.
Okay. He can be on our side.
What are you
Right.
looking at, Joel? Where are we? What's going on
I'm
here?
trying to see. Well, here's my question to Dan. What did he think of this movie we're reviewing?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah. You know, like I said, you know, it's a pretty interesting concept, and you know, they did it well too. It's not just like, well, he went inside his body, you know, like they, you know, it's more than that.
Yeah, thanks to the technology, they actually have a relationship. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
not like he's just riding around inside of him trying to figure out how to get out. So
Oh yeah. You know, what
And they
movie we
very
should okay.
logically. I'm sorry, Daniel. What were you saying?
Oh, you know what movie we should review? If it ever gets released. I know you guys have said you talked about it before, but you know,
The
since
The clown cried.
yeah, that's. I think there's a fan made version on YouTube, but I don't know. I'd have to look.
I was just making a Day the Clown Cried reference earlier tonight. I really was. I really
wow.
referring to my life. I tied it in.
it's going to be daunting, but I think you're right. I think we're all going to want to watch it when it's finally readily available.
That's
It's yeah. It's just, it's
It's gotta happen. Let's just get it over with. Let's just admit it. We all have morbid curiosity.
Yes.
It's like a support group.
I just expect to be like this for the first 10 minutes of it. It's like, I'll sit down. I'll
That's
find
almost
myself in
something.
winter clothing.
That's almost something where we should watch it with earbuds
Mhm.
and film us watching it. Our reaction video today, the clown cried.
You know, I think there's. I don't know if you could still find it, but I know there used to be a song on YouTube as well.
Really?
Oh Lord!
I don't know if you could still find it. I'd have to look.
How about that Fiona Lewis? Isn't she pretty? She's great. She's in Dan Curtis's Dracula.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, cool.
And The Fury and Listomania, my favorite Ken Russell movie.
Yeah, Dan Curtis did Dracula. He also did a Frankenstein movie. He did a Jekyll and Hyde movie. So
we're talking about the beautiful Fiona Lewis, though, Joel.
Yes.
I know. But
don't take me out of the zone. I'm in the zone. Look at Alan. He's glowing. He's glowing at the top.
Oh yes. Yes, I remember coming into the full flower of adolescence and seeing Fiona Lewis in movies.
She just didn't make enough movies, but
No,
the
she
ones she made were all interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, she worked with Dan Curtis. She worked with Brian De Palma in The Fury.
Mm-hmm.
She worked with Ken Russell. She worked with Joe Dante. I mean, if you're only going to work with a few directors, my God, make it those.
Right. It's a resume worth having, for sure.
I know Fangoria in the Dark Shadows issue, the old '80s Dark Shadows issue, had a article about Fiona Lewis, and the title was "Why Isn't This Woman a Star?" And I agree. I always thought of her as like Diana Rigg with fizz.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. She's definitely got that quality.
Could you imagine? Okay.
Some actresses just don't. It's like some actors just don't become a big time star. It's often the movie roles they get don't really fully launch their careers the way they should.
They sometimes get thought of in a certain way by casting directors too, and some it's not always easy to break out of that unless you've sort of known sort of when you can refuse work and how to refuse work and that sort of thing. It's a dangerous game to play with your livelihood.
That's true. That's true.
If you're an actor in Hollywood or anywhere. If they want to cast you as something, usually you go for it, because it's a living. But if you have the right agent, they can sort of talk you in and out of things.
Oh, that's true. Could you imagine an alternate universe where her career actually did do well, but then Jamie Lee Curtis never made it big?
I can live with that.
It'd be all right, but I think there's room for both of them. So.
Oh, definitely, because they have such different qualities.
Yeah.
You would not cast Fiona Lewis in a Jamie Lee Curtis part at all. But
I could see Fiona Lewis in science fiction movies, though, for sure. Period pieces.
Anything Michelle Yeoh does. Fiona Lewis be great in.
Yeah. I mean, because she has, like you say, that fizz of character.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She would have made a killer Angelique.
Yeah. Redheaded Angelique, like the Gold Key comic.
Sure. Sure. And and then you would have had Jenny Agutter as Josette. If this had been made in England in the 70s, sure.
Mm-hmm. Sure, why not? I always thought that Dark Shadows would have benefited from the classic English horror touch, where it was. Because there's so much atmosphere and mystery associated with a lot of those so-called horror films that actually supersedes the shock type scenes in them.
it's a shame that Sky or the BBC or ITC or Thames or did not pick up Dark Shadows and play the hell out of it in England, because I really think the English would have just gone nuts about it.
Yeah, it lends itself to English actors too. That sort of tradition. It definitely does.
That was one of the problems Big Finish faced, is that they just had not seen Dark Shadows.
Yeah, so the flavor of it sort of went into a departure mode after a while. And I don't, nobody to blame for that, but like you say, they really didn't have that strong, a lot of the writers didn't have a strong connection to the show. So, yeah. I guess that was also that. That was a complaint about some of the actors. Great to have work, but this isn't really Dark Shadows at this point. After the first few ones that they did, it didn't feel like it was Dark Shadows.
Well, the one Englishman who really knows Dark Shadows is Stuart.
Yes,
Manning. And that guy encyclopedically.
Yeah, he wrote a few of them. So yes, absolutely.
Guys, favorite scene in this movie?
You almost have to categorize the type of scene. I think for me, any of the talking Jack Putter up and then Jack goes into action scenes, I love. Oddly enough, my favorite Jack Putter moment might be acted by Robert Picardo. when he's first the cowboy, and then when he's trying to bluff his way through, and Picardo's wonderful doing a good Martin Short doing Robert Picardo impression. What a layered piece of acting that was.
Yes. Plus,
Outlaw Josie Vales.
Yeah, and he also had, in certain scenes, he had to sort of, know that he was going to be voiced over too, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, but Picardo is such a brilliantly physical actor.
Mm-hmm.
He just does. The voice of Martin Short's nice,
but the face,
the face and just the eyes are. It's. God, I love that movie, and it's just this horn of plenty. It just keeps bringing out more and more. The more I think about it, every time I watch it, I enjoy it. I get something new. And I got to see the actual pod model that they used with the tiny drill in the windshield at Forey Ackerman's.
Yeah.
Forey had it at the Ackerman.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I knew that dude had just about everything. Finished collecting. But
favorite scene now?
What's that? Me? Who?
Yeah.
Favorite scene? Oh yeah. I think the development of the relationship between the Jack and what's her name?
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan's character.
Lydia.
Lydia, right? Through Tuck, and also this kind of back and forth that was happening between Tuck telling him what to do and say, and Martin Short, Jack, actually taking his own volition.
I like it. I like it when Jack makes his own decisions. Mm-hmm. He's so empowered by Tuck that sometimes he goes off the reservation and does an even righter thing.
Right. He succeeds, and once he starts to succeed, he gets more of that kind of feed.
It's ironic because I think it is heavy-handed in its symbolism in some places, but who cares? That Tuck gains an authentic appreciation for Lydia literally through Jack's eyes.
Right.
Favorite scene, Daniel?
I would say that scene where Jack jumps out of the truck, and he jumps into the car.
It's a great scene.
A good action. Yes. Daunting action scene for sure.
Martin Short on the car, yeah. My favorite scene is where the lieutenant is in his girlfriend's butt and sees that he's going to be a dad. I think it's one of the most touching.
Yeah, pretty cool. It is a nice scene.
From a visual effect standpoint, it's amazingly done. I know it's 1987, but still, good job. Just a really, really good job.
Adds a little human depth in the midst of all this sort of intrigue and action that's going on at that point.
Look, and it's symbolic too, because throughout this movie, you've been though Martin Short's character has been trying to encourage himself to do stuff in many ways. He has taught that character to stand up for himself and be a man, and now he realizes I'm about to be a dad.
Right, so he has to do the same thing.
and in it also, in terms of the mechanics of the movie, because there is maybe a slight chance that, especially when he has that great line about, well, if I were your boyfriend, I'd talk about you all the time.
Yeah.
Which should be a line, and it's not.
Not.
And
Very sincere.
And there's this there's this potential maybe that Jack actually has enough good qualities that he could win her over. And with that, with that gosh darn fetus, the good news is that it then securely becomes something where he has a moral imperative to not even think about that. And it rescues the kiss, it rescues all sorts of things in the movie, and then it opens up Jack Putter to the rescue. For the new adventures of Jack Putter, which I would love to see.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah. Martin Short is not too old to play Jack Putter either, in my opinion.
Well, he's kind of having further adventures in an apartment house right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this is a fun movie. I give this a 10, guys. What do you give it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a 10. Yep. It's a beautiful movie, very underrated.
Yep.
And I think it wants to be in its own strange way.
Yeah, probably. I'd say an 8.
Cool.
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable.
What are you guys doing tomorrow night?
Not much. What do you want to do?
Let's do Enemy Mine. Let's do it.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Let's do Enemy Mine. Because I have a movie the next day after that called Brain Scan, which I think you guys will enjoy.
Wait, Brain Scan or Brainstorm?
Brain Scan.
I don't know that one.
It's a really, really good movie. It's a horror movie.
Okay, because I watched Brainstorm recently for the first time in about 30 years, and it was great.
Yeah.
Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that the last movie that Natalie Wood made?
Yes, right before Christopher Walken. We're not gonna.
Yeah, whatever. Who knows what exactly?
And Robert Wagner gave her swimming lessons.
Never got the choice. God.
My God.
What a gorgeous woman she was, though.
Before somebody murdered Natalie Wood.
Well, as far as we know, the water is what murdered Natalie Wood. Poseidon.
I'll be the one that goes to hell. I'll do it. It's okay. I'm going there anyway.
Those movies you want to do, are they on streaming services?
Actually, I found Enemy Mine on the National Archives. I'll send it to you guys. And Brain Scan is on Tubi. Last time I checked.
Okay.
So I will send both to you. We'll do Enemy Mine first tomorrow night. So
okay,
I love it.
All right.
Okay.
Links to Alan Plant's YouTube channel is going to be in the description box. Link to Patrick McRae's Dark Shadows Day Book of Bound is going to be in the description box. Link to Daniel Culver's YouTube channel. Killenberg's going to be in the description box. I got one more video to do tonight. I'll see you guys later.
Don't smell anything I wouldn't smell.
I will.
Too late for me.
So.